120 FPS has arrived in Gran Turismo 7. This is one of the biggest updates you can get in a game, doubling the frame rate, and not from 30 to 60, but from 60 to 120 is absolutely insane. But there are quite a lot of trade-offs, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what the trade-offs are. By the way, I busted my hand today. Ah, no. I busted my hand today playing football. And now I'm getting beat up all over the shop, so we're going to be using the DualSense today, which had an improvement in the latest update. Now, if I spin around here, you can see that there is quite a lot. This is, by the way, running at 120 Hz in the resolution mode, Kireth editing here. And you can see there's quite a lot of blurring that goes on. You can see at the horizon when it comes to the anti-aliasing. So what you're watching on screen now is taking every other frame, so it's 60 FPS, that's the maximum YouTube will do. But it's showing you the image quality. Can you see the anti-aliasing there on the edge of the white paint on that corner as we go around? As we get closer, it'll also be apparent. This is a very unusual kind of thing to see in Gran Turismo 7, which has had very good anti-aliasing. This is something that you might associate with a PC game. Try and do some flicks here so you can see exactly kind of how smooth and sensitive it is when you're having these sort of fast moments. It might be difficult to see on the video, but I can tell you in real life, on my 240 Hz Samsung G7, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So what I'm going to do now, have a look at this image quality here. You might want to come back and look at this. I'm going to bump it now to 60 frames a second in performance mode. So to do that, I actually have to exit here. And I'm going to go to the settings menu. You're going to see this is actually going to cut out the feed. I'm going to record all of this as live, so you'll see that it's actually doing something. So we're going to go here to off and exit out, and you see that the feed's cut off. I don't even know if I exist at the moment. I might be in that like bookshelf place in Interstellar. So now we're back to 60 frames a second on performance. Now remember, performance in Gran Turismo 7 doesn't actually apply ray tracing in the live driving. It only applies ray tracing in the replays. Worth bearing that in mind. So you can see here now, I believe this cutscene is 30 frames a second, by the way. But now we're in the game at 60 frames a second in the maximum performance setting, and you can see there is basically no anti-aliasing whatsoever. We'll get to a place where we'll see the white paint sort of being absolutely slaughtered again. Wait till I get back on my wheel, everyone. Right, here we go. We're going to come over here, and remember there was lots and lots and lots of anti-aliasing, and you can see there just isn't here. There's more performance of the PS5, this is on PS5 as well, by the way, is being used to kind of give us the best possible graphical experience. So you can see that we just don't have the same artifacting as we had before. Now we're running at 60 frames a second, it's pretty much locked. I know that because I record in 60 frames a second all the time, so I would really notice if there were frame dips, and we just don't have that. This is an awesome visual experience, and what I want to show you is there's been some misinformation about this. If you go to performance mode in 60 frames a second, it's actually not going to change anything again when you're actually driving. It will change it in the replay mode. I actually have always kept on frame rates, so you can see this time nothing changed in terms of the frame rate there. There was no glitching. You can see here that this cutscene I think was a little bit higher frame rate, so maybe that's something that drops in performance mode, but the racing experience is exactly the same. And if you think it's different, let me know why in the comments, but for me this is exactly the same. And to be honest, it's a great experience. I've now played What am I doing here? I've now played Gran Turismo 7 in 60 frames a second, 120 frames a second, performance mode, frame rate mode, graphical mode, and also in PSVR2, 60 frames a second reprojected to 120 frames a second. So I've played in a lot of different ways, and this right now is the preferred way for me to play, and it means that when I drop into a replay, it stays at the same frame rate. Now let's do the funky stuff. Let's go into 120 frames in performance mode. This is the only one that we haven't done yet. So we're going to go in. So you can see there's 4 combinations basically. So we're going to go prioritize, keep it on prioritized frame rate, and we're going to do 120 Hz on. Again, we're going to see that it kind of has to reset the display. So now we're in 120 Hz, and this mode is just absolutely phenomenal. It's just so smooth. What they're doing here is witchcraft, but can you see the quality degradation? Now, when you look at the names, you can see it's a very PSVR2-like experience. I really struggled, by the way, everyone. I felt like reviewers, I'm going to be honest here, I'm a bit harsh, I feel like reviewers did not review PSVR2 accurately. by saying it's crystal clear 4K, and I was trying to tell people before launch, during launch, it's not going to look like that. If you buy it and expect that, you're going to be disappointed. This really is more akin to what PSVR2 looks like, and I know a lot of people who have PSVR2 will be nodding in the comments. You can see here there's just a little bit more blurring, there's a little bit more kind of LOD level of detail, so as the cars go away they get a bit more blurry, and it's doing that to stabilize the frame rate. My massive question is, now I know this isn't akin to VR, because VR, remember, you have to have a slightly different image in each lens because it's to give that 3D effect, so it's not as simple as taking this, but if they can get Gran Turismo 7 doing 120 FPS like this, can we get native 120 Hz in PSVR2 without any reprojection? That would be insane. Now there are a few moments here, by the way, where you see things skip. I think that's because I don't have VRR enabled. The reason why I don't have VRR enabled is that I think there's only one capture card in the world that does 1440p VRR recording at 120 FPS, and I don't have it. I do, however, have one of the very few capture cards in the world, actually two of them, that does 1440p at 120 FPS, so I'm actually able to see on my screen 120 FPS. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my phone here and I'm going to record in 120 FPS. So you're going to see this overlaid. So I'm going to go to Pro mode on my phone, and this is recording at 120. So you can see now, if I get the timing thing in, let me go back a little bit, that this is 120 FPS. So what you're going to be watching on screen right now as I'm talking is this slowed down so you can see every frame. So it's going to be slowed down, but I want to show you again. Sorry, let me keep those numbers in, and you can really see each frame, if that makes sense. So we're doing 120 Hz on a 60 frames a second timeline, which means that it's going to be half the speed. That's how slow motion works. So hopefully this is the best representation. Oh, look at that as we go through the tunnel. Best representation of how the 120 Hz in Gran Turismo 7 actually looks like. It is genuinely a game changer, and you're getting a proper sim racing experience on a console. Now, this is absolutely mad. I'm trying to wrap my brains and remember if Forza had 120 frames a second mode on my Xbox Series X, and I honestly can't remember, but let me know in the chat. But the fact you're getting this when a lot of people will struggle to... I mean, I'll be honest, everyone. When I do iRacing endurance races on this channel, live stream, by the way, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you've got the notification bell on if you want to support me and support this channel. I massively appreciate you. But when I do iRacing endurance races, 24-hour races, 12-hour races, I struggle to hit 120 frames a second. In fact, often it will go down to about 70, 80, 90 and sit there. You can look back at my streams because it's all the overlays all on the screen. So the fact this is on a console, you're going to be able to do GT World Series at 120 frames a second is a little bit mad, because you do honestly get a performance increase when you're running at a higher frame rate. Why is that? Well, you actually get more information. Rather than kind of the car jumping, if you imagine, from frame to frame, you're jumping a bit less at 120 frames a second. And often what happens is that the responsiveness of the controller is also increased, the sort of polling rate. So that the jury's out on that one. I need to, when I've, you know, messed up my hand, work that one out. But yeah, this is really, really, really exciting. I want to know what you think, by the way. So let me know in the comments, what mode are you going to be using? But this is an absolute game changer. It really, really, really is. 120 frames a second in Gran Turismo 7. Let's do some more experimenting, and I'll see you, hopefully, in the next video.